Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee meeting. Today's Wednesday, January 15th, joined by Councilmember Cedillo. I'm Chairperson, Councilmember Joe Buscaino. Welcome and Happy New Year, our first meeting of the new year. We have a quorum and believe Councilmember Price is on his way up. And with that, we'll begin. I'll first take general public comment. Anyone here to speak on a non-agenda item, please come forward now. Seeing none, we will close general public comment. We'll take item number 2, and I have 2 cards. Michael, if you can read item 2 in the record, appreciate it.
Item number 2 is a report from the Bureau of Engineering relative to the vacation of a portion of the alley westerly of West Park Drive between Magnolia Boulevard and Hartsook Street.
Okay, Mr. Edmund, you here to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, Edmund Yu, Bureau of Engineering. This is a request to vacate a portion of an existing alley. The applicant is a school. They owns a majority of the properties abutting this alley, but there are still other property owners abutting this alley, and some of the property owners are still using this alley for access. So the Bureau is recommending the City Council to conditionally approve this vacation, but still we have a condition requiring the applicant to work with the neighbors to come up with an arrangement to get the consent. So if they can do it within the next 2 years, then the vacation can go forward, but if they cannot, then the vacation will not happen. So we are recommending the City Council to give a conditional approval at this time.
Okay. Any property owners that have objected to this street vacation?
I think there are some property owners it will be in attendance. They will speak on that.
Anyone here from Council District 2? Come on up. What's that? After? Okay. We'll take comment cards on item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Yu. If I can bring it up, Marina Martos, followed by Michelle Ullman. Please come forward.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Marina Martos with Kimberlina Wedham and Associates. I'm here on behalf of Oakwood School. Just a point of clarification, a large portion of the alley has already been vacated, and there's an existing fence up that neighbors, I believe, have access to a key if they wish to use for access along the alleyway currently. Right now, as far as my understanding is, there has been no public access on the alley for many, many years. So this would be a continuation of the existing operations of the school. And so we are in complete agreement with the conditions. The school will continue to work with the neighbors, all abutting the alley, and we hope that you recommend approval. Here for questions.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes, hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. I live on the alley, and I have a driveway on the alley that accesses my garage. And I've been talking to the school about it since they put up that fence, which was supposed to be, when I bought the house in '99, they told me the fence was supposed to go to lot 13, at that property line of line 13 and 12. And so my property is right here at 11, and this is where my driveway is. So that wouldn't have impacted me at all. However, they put it up here, right here. So that is not the initial agreement that they made. And I don't know that it has ever been approved because I've never signed off on that fence. So I don't know how it could have been approved to be put up. When I saw it, I started calling the city, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with different people. They finally sent me to the vacation investigators, and I talked to a gentleman named Mr. Armijo, or something like that.
Okay.
And the final part of that was that he called me back and told me that the fence was up illegally and that he was going over there, and this was in early 2010. He was going over there to give them an order of removal. Now, he told me it might take a long time, but it is now 4 years later, And then I got a letter from, after they knew that I was upset about this fence, the school, they sent me a letter. They wanted to talk to me. We talked, but my concerns are that, one, yes, I do have access to my driveway, but kids are back there from the school, and I don't want to drive in and out of there and take the chance of hitting one of those kids. To me, it's not a safe situation for me.
Okay,
Or
thank
for
you.
those kids.
Thank
And
you.
the fact that I believe that my property value is going to go down. If I try to sell the house, is that going to infringe on my property value? Those are my concerns.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. If I can get CD2 to come and speak on this item, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Just say your name for the record. Also joined by Councilmember Price. Thank you for being here.
Carter, Sim Planning Director for Councilmember Paul Kokorian. Thank you for having us here and hearing this item. Our office, this is the first time our office has actually heard about this issue that we just heard about, but I feel that the conditional approval, which would allow for further dialogue between the school and abutting property owners for not only access but potentially purchasing of the vacated portions, because half of the vacated portions will end up going to the school and half will be going to the property owners, and there may be dialogue there that the school is looking at purchasing the other half from the property owner. So allowing the 2 years for the school to have dialogue with their abutting neighbors, and there's a couple left, and they have purchased some of them already, will allow the flexibility on this approval. So the council office is supportive of the vacation.
Okay. So, and the motion indicates just that, as far as the ongoing dialogue with the community, and Mr. Yu indicated that as well with the conditions, right?
And our office and myself will be happy to be involved if the constituents need us to be to have the dialogues and
Very good.
encourage that the dialogues occur.
We strongly encourage that dialogue between the council office and all the parties involved, and we will move by Councilmember Cedillo and second by Mr. Price. We will approve this item with the conditions stated and move forward. Okay, let's take item number 3.
Item number 3 is a report from the Bureau of Engineering relative to a vacation of the portion of an east-west alley southeasterly of Douglas Street between East Kensington Road and the north-south alley easterly of East Edgware Road.
Mr. Yu? I'm sorry, I didn't ask you guys for questions on the last item.
Edmund Yu from Bureau of Engineering. My understanding is that the applicant is asking for an extension on this for this item. So, and Bureau of Engineering has no problem with that request.
Okay. You have a card on this, Nathan Freeman? Nathan?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Nathan Freeman with FMG 440 South Vermont Avenue, Suite 201. I just want to affirm that I did submit a letter requesting a continuance. That's it. So moved.
Okay. So you wanted to continue this matter? Is that what
Yes.
you're requesting?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Yu, you also wanted to continue this or just approve this?
Bureau of Engineering is ready to make actually made a recommendation to approve this with conditions.
Okay.
But if the applicant is not ready or they want to look into it more, we have no problem to give them more time.
Okay. So we'll hold this, and we'll hear this back. How much time do you need?
When is your next meeting?
We schedule it every 2 weeks.
February 5th would be fine.
Okay. So Michael, hold this
Yes.
in committee, and we'll hear a report back on February 5th of 2014.
much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, item number 4.
Item number 4 is a motion from council members Englander and Buscaino relative to establishing guidelines and policies to allow for the display and removal of temporary street memorials being placed in the public right-of-way.
Okay, I don't have any cards on this item, but I do see Mr. John Jones III, my Watts Field deputy, who I know will be a part of the solution. Thanks, John, for being here. And the main thing, and I'm supporting Mr. Englander's motion on this, is being able to establish, it clearly states in the motion, a compassionate guideline and policy to allow for the display and removal of these types of memorials. And this was an issue I dealt with as a senior lead officer for many years. I know folks who are family, friends who are involved in such tragic events, whether it's a shooting homicide or a tragic car fatality accident. It's important to, again, help those friends and family of the loved ones to help them through the closure process. But at the same time, it's important for the city to look into finding ways to make sure that these types of memorials don't escalate to the point where it's a public safety hazard, and a public health hazard as well. Colleagues, any questions?
No.
Right. Okay.
I'll move that.
Okay. Thank you. Moved by Mr. Price and a second by Mr. Cedillo. Okay, item 4, we'll move forward. Thank you. Okay.
Obviously, on that last item, considerations of language and culture and religion.
That's right. Look into that as well.
Yeah. That's it.
Michael, if we, item number 1.
Item number 1 is a verbal report from the Director of the Bureau of Street Services relative to the status of the Bureau.
Well, good afternoon.
Welcome, Mr. Nazario, Director of Bureau of Street Services. Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Buscaino. Happy New Year to all of you, members of the Honorable Committee, Public Works Committee. Nazario Salceda, Director of the Bureau of Street Services. First and foremost, I want to thank you, Councilmember Buscaino, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity to share with you and with this honorable committee the great efforts that the men and women of the Bureau of Street Services perform every single day to serve your constituents in the best possible manner. So for that, I'm really appreciative because, once again, not every day we have the opportunity to share with you the great things that we perform every single day. As you well know, the Bureau of Street Services is one of the 5 bureaus that comprise the Department of Public Works. We are primarily responsible for preserving and maintaining the majority of the public works elements that are located within the public right-of-way. That is, and of course, is not limited to sidewalks, trees, streets, underpasses, overpasses, pedestrian tunnels, stairways, etc., etc., etc. So that is primarily our purpose as an entity to preserve the public works infrastructure. Our mission in general is to provide quality street services in a timely and efficient manner. While our mission may sound simple and short, in reality it embodies the spirit of public works. That is, public works works for you. The vision of the Bureau of Street Services is to be a world-class organization committed to the most innovative street services while being instrumental in the development of a green, sustainable, and prosperous city of Los Angeles. We know for a fact that by being loyal to our mission and vision, the Bureau is revitalizing the streetscape. It is increasing public safety, increasing and improving mobility, health, is promoting economic development, and subsequently creating jobs. And all of this, of course, improves the quality of life in our neighborhoods. This Bureau, historically, was responsible for hundreds of services. In the years of my predecessors, the Bureau was known for providing over 100 different services. As a result of the historical changes and the need to balance the city budget, the Bureau went in the last 6 to 7 years from having 1,700 employees to barely having 1,000 employees. So that reduction of over 40% in staff made us more aware of, of the need to change, to adapt, to be different, to be more sustainable, to be more efficient, and to create new methodologies and practices that in reality we were performing just because they were created decades ago. So we found the light at the end of that dark, reduction of staff by being more dynamic in our assignments, by consolidating certain groups, by consolidating certain divisions, and by creating a new organizational chart that really reflected the dynamic bureau that we have become in the last 2 years. In terms of services, I mentioned to you that historically we were known for over 100. Well, we decided to consolidate those services into 4 major, what I call, core programs. The first one, pavement preservation. And of course, we're known for pavement preservation, not only in the city, in the nation, but in the world. We are, without a doubt, the largest and greenest pavement preservation operation in the world, and I'm very proud to say that. In terms of investigation and enforcement, the Bureau is responsible for enforcing over 100 municipal and state codes that relate to the use and misuse of the public right-of-way. For example, illegal vending, illegal dumping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of street sweeping, we are responsible for cleaning the street using motorized equipment. Therefore, we are responsible for street cleaning of postal routes, non-postal routes, and AM routes. We do have a significant number of streets in LA that are swept between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., and that's the kind of service that the majority of the Angelinos do not get to see, because at that time the majority, I should say most of us, are sleeping. But we do have a significant number of motor sweepers, working at night. Our street sweeping program also supports our other operations. These same sweeper operators that sweep streets as part of our street cleaning program support our resurfacing operations, our slurry sealing operations, our special projects operations. In addition, these motor sweeper operators respond to emergencies. Mr. Chair, you are very familiar with accidents that happen every single day at every intersection of LA. Well, once LAPD has left the location and the fire department, there's a lot of glass, a lot of debris left in the middle of the intersection, and typically PD and fire department would call our Bureau to request assistance to clean those intersections. So these same sweeper operators sweeping streets, sweeping for the resurfacing crews, also respond to emergencies. And of course, these sweeper operators are also responsible for sweeping for special events. Ciclavia, in preparation for Ciclavia, the Lakers parade, which of course we're not going to have pretty soon.
Parade maybe.
Yeah, but that's the other kind of activity that we perform. And lastly, our fourth and last core program is urban forestry. We are responsible for the largest urban forest in the nation and arguably in the world as well. We are responsible for maintaining trees, green areas, landscape medians, and of course, to provide technical and assistance to the residents of LA as they want to perform their work.
Largest in the nation and world.
Largest in the nation and arguably in the world.
With a staff of 3.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, all our programs align with the Council's vision of improving the quality of the road surface. I must say that we have received clear instructions and clear guidance from this Council, especially from this committee, in terms of what's important to you and your residents. And interestingly enough, like I was saying, all our programs align with your visions and priorities. Number 1, improving the quality of the road surface. Number 2, building street
streetscape improvements that make our neighborhoods more livable and attractive. And lastly, maintaining a safe, clean, and green public right-of-way. As I mentioned to you, LA is great. This is a great city, but great cities also have great problems. The beautiful thing about public works is that the problems that we have here in LA are the same problems that small municipalities have. Small municipalities, they also have potholes. Small municipalities, they also have illegal dumping. Small municipalities, they have to trim trees too. The issue here in LA, of course, is that we are so big, 475 square miles, that our problems, our conundrum gets, multiplied in geometric or exponential proportions because we are simply huge. In terms of streets, we have 28,000 lane miles, and I know most of you have heard me saying that 28,000 lane miles of streets are equivalent to a 10-lane freeway between the cities of New York and LA. So that's the size of our street system. That's equivalent to a 4-lane freeway between LA and Paris, France. That is the magnitude of our street network. And a lot of us don't see it like that because we don't get to see the majority of the streets in LA. As a matter of fact, council members, your council districts are bigger than 50% of the cities in the state of California. We also have 700,000 street trees, the largest number of street trees in the nation. What makes us very unique in LA, especially with this weather, is that you can grow a pine tree contiguous to a cactus tree, something that you don't see in every city. That's why we have a big challenge in terms of maintaining our urban forest, because our urban forest is so vast and so broad in terms of species. We have over 1,000 species in LA. You go to other cities and they primarily have 5 major species. In LA we have over 1,000, and each one of those species requires a tree trimming cycle. In LA, for example, if we were to put all these 700,000 trees inside of a blender, a huge blender, and we came up with the average tree in LA, the average tree in LA would need to be trimmed every 5 to 7 years. And we're not close yet from reaching that particular goal. Lastly, we have 1 million square feet of landscape medians. Missouri, 1 million square feet of medians. What are you trying to tell me? For those of you who play football, I can tell you that 11 million square feet of landscape medians is equivalent to 220 football fields. That is the amount of landscape that we maintain every 2 weeks in LA. 220 football fields. It's the NFL and the baseball fields, Major League Baseball combined, and we still do more than those two agencies combined every 2 weeks. Now, in terms of improving the quality of the road surface, let me say that once again, I'm very proud to say that we have the largest pavement preservation program in the nation. And I know that we are putting major attention or major emphasis on streets that we call condition A, B, and C, because our level of funding, although it's historical at this point, this year we have a pavement preservation program of 2,000 lane miles. Just so you get an idea, 2,000 lane miles, what we're doing this year in terms of street work is larger than the entire street network of the city of Oakland. That's what we're doing this year. If you can picture the amount of work that we're doing is greater than the entire street network of the city of Oakland. So we can say that we could be doing Oakland every year, but of course we're not doing it, right? But the reality is that the 2,000 lane miles of street work that we're doing represents only 7% of the entire network. That's why, although we're doing a monumental amount of work, and I get calls from my colleagues all over the world, Mexico City, Europe, and they cannot comprehend how can we do 10 lane miles of street work every day. It's incredible. In an urban environment, how can you guys do 10 lane miles of street work every single day? And we do it. But in reality, the street network is so big that the majority of our residents don't get to see the amount of work that we're doing because we're not touching every street in LA every year. Good roads, as we all know, promote economic development. Economic development encourages job creation. Good roads increase safety, move the traffic faster, right? Allow for nicer and safer bike lanes, and of course, and most importantly, good roads restore property value. That is the importance of maintaining our road system in good condition. In terms of building streetscape improvements, our goals today include the construction of approximately 50 concrete bus paths. Obviously, those are placed at locations where MTA buses stop. That's a good way to protect the pavement in those particular areas. We are installing approximately 1,500 access ramps. We are working at several locations where we have green streets and medians to beautify our neighborhoods. And of course, we are an intrinsic part of drainage improvement and stormwater infiltration projects like the projects that we completed on Elmer Avenue and most recently on Woodman Avenue.
Mr. I'm going to cut you short with all respect, and I thank you so much. I know we have some questions from my colleagues and I. And an incredible report. I can't thank you enough for putting this together, you and your team. We heard in council last week about the 2020 commission report, which clearly laid out the challenges facing the city, and the report clearly indicated that if we continue business as usual, it's just not going to cut it here in the city of LA. I just want to know your ideas of thinking of modernization of the Bureau. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you.
Looking at more efficiencies and making the Bureau more effective as well to make sure that each, the tax dollars are being spent wisely.
That is a great question, Councilman, because as I mentioned before, we went from 1,700 to 1,000 employees, and the only way to maintain the same level of service is through the adoption of new technologies. We have become extremely receptive to utilizing the latest technologies. Right now, for example, we're using handheld devices that minimize the entering of information on systems, because as we enter the information in the field, is now being captured in real time, and we are upgrading our data as we are performing the work.
Now, is that data shared with residents?
We're in the process.
No, I see in one of your slides here, the interactive online street condition map.
That is correct. We're in the process right now. We have done a lot of things to make ourselves more accountable and more transparent. If you go to our website, which, by the way, we created 2 years ago, and we are in the process of upgrading this website within the next 2 or 3 months to make it even more friendly, we are making our information available to all the residents. We are making information available to the neighborhood
How would you
council.
blast a notification if I'm going to get my street resurfaced?
We are making, excellent question. We are making ourselves available to the new generations, because Los Angeles is a young city, and young people use the new technologies. Although we still have a significant number of residents using the old 311 system, the majority of our requests now are coming through our Twitter account, Facebook account, Tumblr account. So all that information, we're making ourselves more reachable to all the neighborhoods, and that is the best way for us to respond to, in a more efficacious way, to the residents and the needs of the residents. Technology is playing an important role in our response today.
How are you guys competitive? Yeah.
Copies of just some sample copies. Twitter requests look like and your emails and your
Yes.
texts?
I think it would be good to share with the council offices.
By all means, I can make those available to you. As a matter of fact, as you have received some of my tweeters, some of my tweets every once in a while. When we're in the neighborhood, we want the neighborhood to know that we're there, so they can get close to us and ask questions and tell us, what else can we do for you. So that's one of the things that we're doing right now.
One last question, I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Now, I know there are a number of services that the Bureau performs that might be outside of your core mission. If you look at lot cleaning, investigation and enforcement, engineering, you have an engineering division.
That is correct.
So why do you have an engineering division when we have a Bureau of Engineering?
It is important to understand that what we do is very scientific. There's science behind paving streets, and in our in our old days, we didn't think that it was important to bring that element of science behind everything that we do. Everything that we do is based on specifications. I mean, when we build access ramps, when we build, for example, I'm going to give you an example, access ramps. Not all access ramps are created equal. That's what I need an engineering division, because I have to sometimes optimize or create specific designs for specific locations. And that's why I need an engineering division. I also need an engineering division to validate and perform my QA/QC. That is the other thing that I use. Quality assurance and quality control.
Gotcha.
The other thing, of course, is that my engineers are also responsible for building, designing, applying for grants, and constructing all of those projects that we perform in your neighborhoods using outside funding. MTA call for projects, Safe Routes to School. This is the group that interacts with the community and helps the community to conceptualize their ideas. Communities have money, but sometimes they think that they know what they want, which is great. But putting the idea together requires engineering knowledge. Requires
your
someone to do it.
investigation and enforcement division, and I've had a great working relationship as a SLO working with Frank Martinez, but he's stretched thin. He's all over the city.
Right.
If you look at maybe, would it be possible to have LAPD or DOT handle that element where there's a few more personnel in those respective departments?
We are always open, and that's an excellent question, Councilman. We're always open to improve the delivery of services to the residents. If indeed there is a benefit in terms of fiscal benefit, for example, or in terms of delivering services, we're always open-minded to that opportunity. However, let me tell you that as a result of losing my investigators, the Bureau has been extremely active engaging the community using some of the programs that we make available, like the Reserve Investigator Program. We have approximately 30 Reserve investigators volunteering. We also have the CLEAN Program, which is, community leaders assisting, the neighborhoods. And we also have the Junior Inspector Program, in which we recruit kids from schools to be our eyes and ears in the community.
Do you find nonprofits in the community willing to step in to do lot cleaning? And again, lot cleaning is, you don't have the necessary personnel to clean all the lots in the city of LA, but are you finding council offices using some of the local nonprofits to clean?
The majority of the council members are using now, nonprofits to do this kind of work. Once again, the reality is, as a result of the understandable cuts, we had to eliminate the cleaning that we were performing for all of you, and by all means, we're still working with the communities, not only to clean, but to plant trees, to inspect, to find potholes for us, to find sidewalks that have uneven surfaces. So we are getting not only the nonprofits, but the universities, the communities, the
neighborhood councils
councils
that they can use.
Yes,
as well.
we are using every possible assistance to provide the services in a more.
And lastly, I went on a run this morning and I noticed a car that was cited by DOT. The car was parked in a no parking zone for street cleaning.
Okay.
Now, when the individual pays that ticket, does the money go to your department or does it go to DOT?
No, it goes to the general fund, and the decision is made as to how to use that money, whether to use it for public safety, fire department, LAPD, to use it for more street cleaning, for DOT enforcement.
Okay.
That's a decision that you, council members have.
Colleagues, I'll turn it over. Mr. Price.
Yeah, first of all, let me just thank you for the report. We really do appreciate the job that the Bureau performs. We've had a chance to collaborate since the very beginning. Certainly some challenges, but appreciate the unique role that the Bureau plays in improving and contributing to the quality of life, a positive quality of life. You know, so many times the only contact folks have with their government are their streets. And, you know, we certainly in District 9, I know District 1 and others are really focusing on clean and green in ways that we haven't before. And so I know sometimes we may be pushing a little bit, but we even with limited numbers, I think we just have to work collaboratively to make a change. And just kind of what your thoughts on just a couple of topics as we go down. Illegal dumping. Now, what's the role your office play? What does the Bureau play on dumping? Dumping is a big issue in the 9th, as you know. We've you know, out on the streets and the alleys, you know, public ways. You know,
Yes.
And the broader discussion, I guess, is fines. You know, what can we do to help turn it around? You should learn of any public information programs you have, for example, that our office can work with you on as we reach out to the community, because, you know, we have to make the community take some interest. I mean, we can get their attention by cleaning the streets up, you know, but we need them to help us maintain that. And I think unless we can really get things clean, people aren't going to be taking us seriously. So talk about dumping for a while, illegal dumping. Strategies, and I do have another couple of questions to ask.
Yeah, illegal dumping, without a doubt, is one of those challenges, one of the big challenges that we have in LA. Every council district has a different DNA, a different population, a different demographic, and while illegal dumping, we can say that it's a problem citywide. Certainly, there are some areas in LA where illegal dumping is proliferating and creating bigger problems. At this point, the Bureau of Street Services can offer the residents of the city of LA enforcement for illegal dumping.
What are we doing to enforce? Is there a fine? You know, how do we get signs up? Can we do a little public interest campaign around?
Right, through our Public Affairs Office, the Board of Public Works Public Affairs Office, we attend a lot of community meetings, and we try to engage the community to, once again, not to be personally involved, because this is a crime and this is a violation that a lot of times may turn violent, as you well know, Councilmember Buscaino. So we want the community to become our eyes and take as much information as they can so they can share the information with us. As a matter of fact, about 7 years ago, Council approved a system in which residents notifying and providing information that will lead to the
apprehension. What happened to that
exactly
program?
of the violators?
What happened to that program?
It's still available. Basically, if a resident provides enough information for us, like a license plate number, pictures that depict the violators performing the violation.
Is there a monetary reward?
Yes, it's $1,000 for if the resident provides enough information for us to cite and
I mean, do you think that program has been effective? Would it be more effective if there were less red tape involved in claiming the reward?
I think there's that understandable fear for retaliation sometimes, because when we ask questions, I mean, it's amazing that a lot of times we remove or we see piles of debris in front of a house, but these piles were huge. We're not talking about a small pile, and those were brought by big trucks, and you had to see it. Someone had to see this big truck dumping this in the middle of the street. And when we start our process of investigating and asking questions, a lot of times residents feel, understandably, that they should not be providing this information.
I'm going to move on, but just want you to know, as conversations we've had before, illegal dumping, real big priority, and we're anxious to partner with the Bureau on a campaign that talks about the reward, the campaign that talks about penalties. Maybe we need to increase penalties. And what's the typical penalty for someone gets caught, and what? What's
Well,
what's the penalty?
initially, again, this is a considered a misdemeanor, and it could include, depending on the amount of debris,
Yeah.
we can actually confiscate the vehicle. We can do that. That can go as far as confiscating the vehicle. It's a range of
Okay.
penalties.
Well, we're going to be talking with your office again, just figuring out how we can.
But I will
step it
work
up a little bit.
with your staff, Councilman,
Always.
to try to put together
Right.
something for you.
Landscaping, a big issue in many of our communities where it just has been neglected over the years, non-existent, sometimes on the islands that occur. Do you have some regular program for sort of identifying these for beautification, or if we give you a list, how can we best?
Yes. Well, the first thing we ask the community to do is to make contact with us. Call us 311-LADSS.org. Any possible way, you could make contact with us. We can meet with you to determine what are the needs of the community. What is what the community would like to see in those particular medians. Most of our medians right now in LA are they're covered with turf and basic landscape.
And sometimes that's fine. I mean, that's enough.
But again, sometimes communities want to beautify those medians even more. So we are there to provide the technical support, what is acceptable in terms of planting, what is not acceptable in terms of planting. And by all means, if the community feels that they want to improve, beautify even more their green areas, we are readily available to provide our technical support.
Well, we're doing a big clean and green effort in the 9th District. Every weekend we're out. And sometimes areas that we've identified, neighbors want to beautify the island, beautify some of the public areas in ways that they've not done before. There was some conversation about the urban forestry replacing trees, and I think I'm getting some mixed messages. You're telling me that the program is in full swing. I've had people call and say that the response has been that there are no more trees or trees aren't available. Talk a little bit about the program, the policy for replacing trees in the, on the curbs, on the streets.
I'm glad that you're asking that question, Councilman. Our policy, this is the city policy, is to preserve the urban forest. So therefore, we don't remove trees unless the trees are dead, unstable, or unsafe. That is
my question is, how can we get the trees replaced? Because frequently you see the tree well's been, kind of a pile of dirt for the last 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. Are we doing anything to encourage neighbors and friends to revitalize them by providing some materials?
What we're doing, we're working very closely with Million Trees LA, and through the intervention of nonprofit, the Bureau of Street Services is providing technical support to these groups. So if you have any locations where you would like to plant any or replace trees, please share those with us. And what we'll do, we'll contact Million Trees, and we will partner with you and Million Trees to replant those trees where we have vacant wells, tree wells.
Mr. Chairman, just another couple of questions. I appreciate the time. Again, in my area, a number of tunnels designed to go under the street for kids, safe passage, have now become homeless encampments. A number of bridges also designed to provide safe passage for youth going from one side of the major intersection to the other. And these facilities just become unusable. Any thoughts on, do we just seal them up and forget it? Is it an idea that went bad? Do we need to try to find money to get guards in there or provide some other kind of...
I recommend if the infrastructure is existent, let's try to preserve it. Tunnels are critical, especially during emergencies. So I would ask you, Councilman, to provide those locations to me. I'll be more than happy to provide an assessment to you as to what is the condition, what is needed in order to put them in full utilization, and based on that, we can start working on a plan to either close them, because some of them need to be closed. I agree with you, because they are a center of vandalism, crime, prostitution, drug addiction, et cetera, and a lot of times
the need is not still there. I mean, you still have kids, elementary school kids who need to cross the street with parents, sometimes with a crossing guard, but still there was a real need. You mentioned the scheduled street sweeping that occurs. The problem frequently is some of these streets are not scheduled. And again, I know it's a budgetary issue. Just something we're real aware of sort of in the 9th District when we think there should be a little bit more service. And then lastly, if you could just talk again about this, your junior inspector program, your investigator program, how that's working, how it could work better, and what the council officers should know about it that could be important.
This is a very successful program because kids are the future of LA. They are the future citizens that will take care of our infrastructure. And right from the early stage, they're learning that it is critical to properly maintain the streets in order to, and I mean in general, the public right-of-way, in order to have a good quality of life. We go to elementary schools, we make the program available to elementary schools, and we can work with you directly.
What is the program exactly?
And the program basically, we select a significant number of kids that have the attitudes and have demonstrated that they are willing to do this for their neighborhoods. The majority of the cases, the kids start at home. A lot of our parents, tend to do a lot of the violations that we see in the public right-of-way. And they are the ones they start at home by teaching and educating their own parents and their own brothers and sisters. And that's how the whole thing starts. Basically what we do, we go to the classroom, we teach the kids, the value of having a great community. We show them what's legal, what's not illegal. Keep your eyes open, be safe, how to keep a safe pathway, how to promote safe routes to school, and the kids get so engaged that at the end of the course, we present to them a real nice small badge, to make them honorary inspectors and junior inspectors.
So is this program now citywide, or
it is citywide. And again, we make it available to all council districts. So if council members, if you would like us to go there to your elementary schools, we'll be more than happy to work with you to provide this program.
We definitely want to follow up with you on that.
Yes,
thank you. It's something that we're very interested in doing. Thank you.
I think also a good idea to tap into our universities as well, those who are studying urban planning, urban forestry, to come out and environmental justice studies, to come out and help the Bureau. My question, and this is my final question, if you look at the cost, we asked on a number of occasions a breakdown of costs on fixing trees, trimming trees, fixing streets, fixing sidewalks, and when you come back to us with that bid, it's incredibly high. How, if you look at the costs, are the Bureau's costs competitive with the private sector?
Yeah, well, I don't know specifically about the locations you're talking about. I don't know if the location required, for example, if you're talking about some kind of work that will remind...
in general, just when you do a price sheet.
One of the biggest challenges that we have and will make us, like you said, not very competitive, is that as city employees, we are required to include the cap rates, the indirect costs, and all of those things. And
who gives you that direction to include?
Well, at this point, what we have, in this case, is a recommendation, a direction from the Controller's Office as to, we have to utilize the applicable cap rates every time that we provide an estimate.
Is this a standing order from the Controller's Office, or is this our new Controller asking for that?
Well, this instruction precedes me, so I would have to find out exactly,
I just don't want to price our way out of business in the city.
Yeah.
That's our main...
But let me assure you, Councilman, that when you analyze our direct cost is extremely competitive. It is the indirect, the cost of pension, the cost of administration, even the cost of counsel that we need to add to the cost that makes us in a way not competitive.
Very good. Again, I continue to be grateful to work with you and your team, Nazario. Thank you so much for a well-rounded, comprehensive report to my colleagues and I, and looking forward to continuing to work with you and your team.
Thank you, council members. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, no action on this item. This is just a note and file, this presentation. So thank you. Thanks again. And with that, anything else on the table, Michael?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we're good. With that, the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee is now adjourned. Thank you.